Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest in studio today is Mr. Shawn Wing, a rehabilitative manager and a specialist in personal training, owner and CEO of Defined Fitness here in Georgetown, Kentucky, and also rehabilitative manager at Georgetown Family Chiropractic, also in Georgetown. How are you doing today, Shawn?
I'm doing well, Neal. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. As a personal trainer, you see people who are either trying to develop, maintain a healthy lifestyle, or recover from an injury of some sort. How important is it to make sure that the stretching takes place properly long before any of the exercising techniques are perfected?
One of the main things you got to focus on with patients and clients and just anybody really focusing on trying to increase their range of motion is the types of stretching that you perform have to be adequate for the activity that you're getting ready to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's three types of stretching, basically ballistic, dynamic, and static. And those types of stretching vary depending on what phase of the workout program that you're in, what you're warming up to compete in or train for.
Mm-hmm.
And three, it really just depends on what overall goal. So I tell a lot of my clients, when you focus on warming up, you want to make sure that you do some mobility movement. Mobility is basically like, jumping jacks or pushing a small light sled or walking on a treadmill, something like that, staying active, not just going through the motions. And then you also want to make sure you incorporate, one of those three types of stretching. Now, static stretches, you see a lot of the guys or anybody, you walk into a gym and see anybody doing a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're holding it, for 10, 15, sometimes a little bit longer on seconds. And that's usually done prior to their workouts when really that type of stretching needs to be done post-workout due to the fact that when muscles are stretched, basically you're increasing the blood flow, which increases the muscle elasticity in those fibers. So when you really stretch out a muscle really, really good before your workout, you're actually starting to focus more on the recovery phase, which tells your body, okay, I need to strengthen out or stretch out the muscles, allow more blood flow and allow more nutrients to start the repair phase. And a lot of times that actually gets people hurt, gets people injured because their muscles are too elastic going into the workout.
Now, Shawn, if I can interrupt just for a moment. Now, are we talking about this technique that you're describing right now? Is this something that needs to be implemented across the board when it comes to stretching post-exercise? Or is this technique or this philosophy something that needs to be considered based on, as you said before, what activity you're involved in? Or is this one of those things like seatbelts save lives?
No, this is more the activity specific.
Okay.
And it also depends on the timing that you're doing it. So the type of stretching that I was just referring to is something called a static stretch. Static stretch is where you hold the stretch for anything greater than 10 to 15 seconds, which usually helps the body start to go into the recovery phase.
Okay.
The dynamic stretch, however, is something that you're going to want to do before the exercise begins. That's shorter bouts of stretching. Still stretching the muscle, but maybe holding it 2 to 5 seconds. That's more of a dynamic stretch, which actually tells your body, okay, let's wake up. Let's go ahead and actually start to learn the process of the movement. And that's kind of how that will inhibit or prohibit you to be able to stay more active.
All right, let's talk about the stretching when you're not necessarily about to run a marathon or about to play ball or about to address the rehabilitative process of an injury. You're getting out of bed. You just want to get your day started, and you're really just going to, you're going to drive the subway. That's what you're going to do. But you still want to stretch when you get up. What type of stretch would you recommend for the person that just wants to loosen up a bit, but not necessarily embark on some vigorous exercise routine?
Dynamic stretching, quick 2 5-second bouts of exercise. Something when you get up in bed, you just kind of raise your arms for a couple seconds, and that's an example of a dynamic stretch.
Okay.
And that helps wake up the body, wake up the musculoskeletal system, and let them know, hey, it's time to activate.
And it's just time to activate, not necessarily play a game of football, right?
Right, exactly. Something that just kind of wakes you up a little bit, something that you've been sitting in the chair driving for too long, you get up and walk around. That's a form of kind of dynamic stretching.
Now, are there different types of stretches that you would apply to, say a person who sits at the computer all day? That's their job, and they've got this constant, this chronic pain in their neck throughout the day. They get up, they stretch it, it goes away, they go right back to their job. Is there something that you can recommend for, that type of a situation that's going to be ongoing, but you need relief because you can't not sit at the computer?
One of the things that they're going to want to focus on, anybody who has a sedentary job, such as sitting at a desk, you're going to want to focus on blood flow. Because when you sit down there, your heart has to work a little bit harder to kind of keep the blood flowing to the body because the muscles are not pumping the blood. So, if you can't do anything and you can't get up, move your arms around, flex your muscles a little bit, flex your calves, flex your quads. These are the muscles of the legs. Flex your arms a little bit, and that'll kind of act as a natural pump. Overall, that's what your gastrocs, which are your calf muscles. Those are actually designed to help increase the flow of blood back up into the heart. That's why those muscles are, so large, because they help pump the blood, back up the body. So someone who's sitting down for quite some time, maybe if you can't get up and you can't move, just start focusing on flexing or contracting a muscle, and that'll help with circulation and blood flow.
When it comes to nutrition, as a personal trainer on the defined fitness side, how much advice or information do you offer your clients that is nutrition based in conjunction with your personal training on the exercise end of it?
The nutrition aspect of it is kind of a whole different ball game as far as living a healthy lifestyle. A lot of you'll hear a lot of trainers say, training is only 20% or training is only 30% of the actual fitness lifestyle. That's true and that's false depending on what you're training for. If you're training for a strongman competition, you better believe it's more 50-50, maybe even more 60-40 for your training. So let's say you're training at 60%. What's more important? Your diet's 40% more important. And that'll change the closer you get to your competition season or closer you get to competition day. But for the general consensus, general population, diet is probably going to be, about 80%. Someone who's just looking to stay healthy, stay relatively active, slim, very, very similar to that aspect, 20% training, 80% diet, give or take 10% or so. But that's where it breaks down into exactly the quality of food you eat, how many meals that you eat a day, what are you eating? Are you skipping breakfast? What do you eat before bed? Stuff like that. That's kind of what it breaks down to. And I always preach to my clients that making sure you hit your macros are very important. Macros are macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. And so basically making sure that, let's just say a good general example, 1 pound is equivalent to 1 gram of protein. And that's normally what, you want to take in just to maintain a relatively healthy lifestyle. Carbohydrates, depending on the goal, can range anywhere from 0.5 up to maybe even 1.5 to 2.0 grams per pound of body weight. And then your fats. Your fats, you can range depending on, like I said, the goal that you're focusing on, anywhere from 0.25 to even 0.6, 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. But that's way more involved in what the general population should know about, carbohydrates and fats and proteins. But getting an overall general healthy diet and making smart choices is extremely crucial to the longevity of your life.
In your experience as a personal trainer, have you noticed or been told that the type of exercise program that you work out with a person, does it change some of the nutrients that they crave as opposed to being told what nutrients to put in to maintain health?
That's a very funny question because a lot of times you will crave things that you don't even like when you go on, let's say, a competition diet, for example. So I'm just using me for example, and I don't get up on stage and compete, but I do, similar activities in the gym that would represent, strongman, represent bodybuilding or stuff like that. And, I try to focus on a pretty healthy diet. And once again, I'm just speaking on my personal behalf. But, for example, I used to not like chocolate chip cookies for the longest time. And I had a really bad experience when I was younger, ended up getting sick on them anyway. So as you focus on eating clean and eating healthy and weighing out your meals and, making sure you get your meals in, your body is going to crave stuff that you haven't had in a while. Let's say sweets or chocolate or whatnot. And it's kind of funny that that the body will do that. And sometimes some will say it's important to listen to the body, and that's just your body's way of saying, I'm deficient in something. So, hey, let's go and have a little bit. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And that goes on to the other point that everything is okay in moderation, but you got to moderate it. That's the main thing.
You have to moderate. Without moderating it, then moderation is nothing, right?
Exactly.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. We've been in studio talking with Shawn Wing, personal trainer and rehabilitative manager at Georgetown Family Chiropractic in Georgetown, Kentucky. Defined Fitness, Shawn's personal business, personal training, is also located in Georgetown, Kentucky. We've been here talking about some of the important aspects of stretching, both before and after exercising, and stretching simply for stretching's sake, the importance of that as well. It's been great having you here with us today, Shawn.
Thank you, Neal. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm, and you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.